Ooh, so this is gonna be a fun rant today. Um, Earlier today, I heard someone mention something about code interviews, and I was like, "Oh, I got a lot to say about this." So, if you read the title, my opinion is that most code interviews are complete garbage and serve no purpose. Um, why do I think that? Well, I've been a developer for 4 years before I decided I didn't really want to do this shit anymore. And I've had more than a few code interviews. Um, and there was two types of code interviews that I encountered frequently. That when I saw basically anybody using them except like the people who like the companies that originally made the stuff, so like big companies like Google and Facebook. Whenever I see anybody basically basing their code interviews off them, I want to slam my face on my desk because it makes no sense. And I'm going to explain why it makes no sense. So, if you know anything about the FANG company style interviews, you will know they tend to be very, very algorithm centric. Now, does that makes perfect sense to me in their case? These are companies with very large and I'd imagine very complex systems, and having people who are able to squeeze every bit of performance out of their systems, I'm sure brings the company an immense amount of value, being able to reduce costs and things like that. The problem is when you get into smaller companies that when they're trying to figure out how they want their hiring practice to go, they just go, ooh, what's Google doing? Ooh, what does Facebook do? And they just copy it. And without thinking, does this actually help us? I'm going to answer your question for you. No, it doesn't. The reason why it doesn't help you is because unless you are one of these big companies or a company that maybe is experiencing a very large amount of exponential growth to the point where you seriously need to start worrying about scaling either now or in the near future, worrying about whether the dude or person that you're hiring can deduce algorithms means nothing, is completely worthless. If you're a smaller company, if it was me, I would be more concerned about, can he fix bugs? Can he implement features? How strong is his business sense outside of just development? I think one of the skills that people very seriously undervalue in developers is how well can they translate what they know about development to concepts that just are that will help the business, right? So if you're a small business, you want to grow, right? You want more customers. You want your product to be used by more people. You want to polish your product so that your customers are happier, and possibly be able to charge them more money if the more people use it and offer them more and more solutions to their problems. What doesn't matter at that point? Whether you can make one certain part of your system operate 1 millisecond faster than you did before because you optimized some stupid algorithm. Anytime I see these type of code interviews by smaller companies, I just why I don't like complaining about stuff if I can without offering solutions. So here would be at least maybe a suggestion I have, which is you need to seriously look at your business and your business's systems and go, what do we need to focus on right now or within the foreseeable future? Foreseeable future being 6 months. The reason why I say 6 months is because it's kind of a trend where developers tend to hop jobs within 6 months to a year, at least as far as I understand. And most of the time, I doubt most of you are going to say, we need to scale. No, you don't need to scale. You need to get more customers so that you do need to scale. So to that extent, I would say, maybe you offer a interview test where maybe you have usually have a list of bugs, Jira tickets or something. Why not take a kind of a low priority bug and give it to them and say, here, see if you can debug this. They don't even necessarily have to successfully debug it. You just want to see how they reason jumping into a code base probably never looked at before and figuring out how all the pieces fit together to see if they can actually figure out why is this broken and how do I fix it. That's a very practical use case. Maybe even offer them hypothetical questions about how they would improve your product to increase revenue, increase retention, very useful things that would provide value to the business. So that would be my 2 cents on that type of code interview. And there's another one I don't really have a solution for. I just think these types of code interview types are another one of these, like, this doesn't happen in real life type of question, which is another one that I see frequently. And every time I saw this on a code interview question, instead of answering it, if there was someone giving it to me, I would say, why is this here? This doesn't exist in real life. Which is, they would give you just a snippet of code, like a code block, like a function basically, and say, determine what this code is doing. And if it was code written by, a normal human being, it would be maybe at the very least to some extent self-documented. But this is not they have it takes in parameters A and B and returns some value down at the bottom called M, and it's storing temporary values and some other randomly named variables. No one writes code like this. If you do have someone on your team that writes code like this, they need to either stop doing it or you need to fire them. Like, one of the most, if not the most important aspects about programming is being able to write code that other people can look at and understand. If you seriously write code where you just use variables like A, B, C, M, Z, and names for functions and stuff that don't actually describe what it does, I hate you and you need to stop that. But anytime I ever saw interview questions like this, I actually wouldn't answer it. If there was someone giving it to me, I would go, what is this proving? This is not code that I'm going to encounter on a regular basis. Oh, I just want to see if you can do it. Why? Do you have code like this in your code base? Because if you do, I don't want to work here. If that person's still here, they should be fired. Or at least told to not to quit writing shit code like that, or else they will get fired. And this is maybe not directly related to code interviews themselves, but for the love of God, stop having HR administer code tests, okay? This makes no sense, and you're handicapping very heavily the interviewee for one big reason I can think of, which is you want a code test, a code interview, to mimic as closely as possible the real life environment that they're going to be doing, like on the actual job. You may give this interviewee a problem given to them by someone who's not a dev at all and has no technical knowledge, and they may not know really how to proceed with it. It happens. And that's kind of a regular occurrence as a developer. You see stuff and you're like, I have no clue how to do this. I have to figure it out. There's generally 2 things you do, not exactly in this order. You Google the hell out of it, or you ask the help of your coworkers and your colleagues. And in the case of a code interview being given by an HR, you don't have the human resources to utilize to figure it out. In some cases, they don't even let you Google the thing. It's just like, we just gotta figure it out. It's like, but this isn't how real life works. This is not what I'm gonna be doing on the job. If I can't figure out something, I'm either gonna Google it or I'm gonna go ask someone who probably has a better understanding of how this works than me. Please, 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 please stop having HR administer code interview tests. I think I'm done ranting now. Man, I really wanted to say a lot about that. Plug incoming. If you like the video, if you like this content, do me a favor and go down below and like the video and subscribe if you haven't. I plan on maybe doing a few more rants from whenever I was pursuing a career as a developer. So let me know if you just want to see more videos of me just kind of being unhinged and blasting stuff that pissed me off whenever I was a developer. Y'all come on back now, and I'll see you next time.